Hello and welcome everybody to the Mind Manifesting Podcast. I'm here with my friend Raj Padalia. What's up, Raj? We got a lot going on right now.
What's going on? Yeah, we're fresh off a few trips of our own, hence the hiatus we had. So we're gonna be catching up on what we've been going through, what adventures that we've been on, and discuss what new realizations that we sort of came out of these different adventures that we've been on these past few weeks.
Yes, indeed. So it's basically a life update, trip report,
Sure.
tales from the mountaintops.
Yeah.
and from the deep valleys. I went to some dark places actually, so
Hey man,
I'm gonna tell you guys all about that journey.
Let's shed some light on that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I guess I'm going first then. I'm ready. Here we go.
Yeah, go for it. Lay it on me.
Right,
So for some context, I know that you have been busy rebuilding your home, rebuilding your property, your area. You're building a bunch of new structures. I saw some pictures. Interestingly, you're using a lot of almost psychedelic inspired architecture, some mandalas infused into the architecture. And, of course, you're building it out of these big wooden structures. So wondering if you could catch up a little bit on that and then tell me a little bit more. What else you've been up to after that?
Yeah, well, that's a perfect segue because it all ties in. So basically, in a long time ago, in a galaxy far away, I went on this psychedelic adventure. Not in the United States, of course, but before I headed there, this was to be an ayahuasca ceremony. So of course it was done in place in a time where this medicine was completely legal and ethical.
What year was this?
Galaxy long ago, far away.
Understood.
Yeah, so going into this ayahuasca ceremony, I really had a lot on my plate. Like as Raj was mentioning, we're doing a ton of building right now. We've moved out to this new property that is off grid, way out in the woods, and we moved there from a little apartment by the beach in Santa Monica, Southern California. So first of all, that's happening, right?
Yes.
My wife Emily is pregnant with our second child. We also have a 3-year-old daughter named Coral who is really she's having a hard time adjusting to the new surroundings. She misses her grandparents a lot and her friends in Santa Monica and just the life that we had there. It's like,
were there kids like nearby that she would play with? I mean, she's still pretty young. It's not like it was different if she was like in 3rd or 4th grade as opposed to being 3 years old. So I guess that's a big difference too. Luckily,
yeah, I mean,
she is as young as she is. I think it would have been more traumatic had she been like in a middle school or something,
Right. Yeah. I think it gets harder and harder to
Certainly.
move as
so
the
I think,
kids
yeah, I
older.
think you guys did have a great time.
Yeah.
If you're feeling any guilt.
But
yeah.
It still was and is harder than we expected it to be. Jeez. Yeah, it's like the cold and the wet and the being out in the woods. I mean, I think she, for her, she came into this world in Santa Monica with a ton of people, a ton of energy, a bunch of cars, bunch of buildings, concrete, ocean, sunshine, all that stuff. And for us, we were like so ready to get out of the city. And for her, that's her home. That's what she's used to.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is all very new and sometimes uncomfortable for her. So she's been in this mode where she's been like really clinging hard to mommy, just like super intensely, like almost more so than she did when she was a tiny little baby. I think part of it is knowing that we have another child coming. Part of it is moving to this new place and just yeah, so that's been challenging for both of us because it makes it harder for me to take her and give Emily some quiet time. And it just, it's kind of putting a strain on all of us. So that was going on. We got a bunch of
that's an ongoing
chicken.
thing. Yeah. You guys got a chicken?
That is going on. Yeah, that is going on. We also have a bunch of new chickens and a bunny.
A new chicken?
Chickens, yeah.
How many chickens? Did you have chickens before?
A whole flock.
Before that?
No, we've had them for about a month. And so, yeah, that's been a big learning curve. We had to keep them inside for a while because the coop wasn't ready and they were too little.
What was
so
the
we had this whole
learning curve? What did you learn that you didn't expect? Right? Like, what was surprising?
Well, I would just say if you're gonna get chickens,
because it seems like easy. I just get a coop, I just let them run around, and I get 3 eggs. Like, it just seems pretty like easy.
That's exactly what I thought
so
too.
Tell me where I'm wrong.
What I would say is just if you're gonna get chickens, make sure that you have your outside space completely set up before you get the baby chicks, because what we just ended up having to keep them inside longer than what we wanted it to. So, and we live in a pretty small house. Like, we have a ton of outside space, but our inside space is pretty small. It's too cold for them to be outside. We didn't have the right heating element to keep them out there. And
so there's some
electricity off grid too.
Is it with most coops you need an electricity component for the heater?
Yeah, it just depends where you live. I mean, as they get older, they can be outside.
Oh, when they're older, okay.
Yeah, as they get older, they can handle more cold, I believe.
Makes sense.
And yeah, basically we got this really high wattage light bulb that was just sucking all our power. So I was like running the generator kind of like all day to keep this thing going, just to keep these chicks alive. And so that was going on for a while. We upgraded that. And then the chicks are getting bigger. We still can't get them outside, but they're starting to just like be loud and messy and smelly in the house. And meanwhile, Bunny got moved to a different hutch. And a tip for potty training bunnies is you don't want to move their hutch, because that's where you need them to know where they go to the bathroom. If you confuse that, you got yourself a problem.
So that was after it was it
so Bunny was peeing and pooping all over the house. The chickens were stinking up the house. Because we're just taking care of all these babies.
They probably poop and pee too a lot, right? Yeah.
They just poop all day. They're just
what does Coral think about playing with the chickens?
She's pretty sweet. I mean, she prefers Bunny, but she likes having the little animals around. The chicks were like really tiny and cute right in the beginning, and as they get bigger, they get kind of like all skittish and they're funny little birds.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a flock. I have a bunny, and we got a lot of babies, and we're tending to this garden of just all these baby plants and baby trees. And yeah, so that was just
a lot of babies.
That was a lot of energy, a lot of babies,
a lot of young energy in your life.
A lot. There's a lot of seeds have been planted, and we're just caring for them and watering them, cultivating. And yeah, so that was a lot of energy to just kind of on my plate, and then just all the energy of building this place, investing a lot of money and a lot of time into creating this thing that we're creating here, and just continually coming back to the faith that these investments of time and energy and money are gonna pay off, and become fruitful. And they are starting to, but it's still in the very beginning phases where we've invested a ton into it, and we just gotta keep going and going. Right. We just gotta keep going and keep having faith.
Yep.
So yeah, I came into the ceremony with all that on my mind.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of weight. There's a lot of a weight on my shoulders at the moment.
If I did ayahuasca right now, I would be going in with almost nothing on my plate. At least not that I'm like hyper aware of. I'm in a really chill spot right now.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, you would
I think
find
my
out.
experience would probably be a little bit different.
Very, yeah,
I'm sure it
very.
would uncover like a lot. Don't get me wrong, that it won't be difficult, but probably not as difficult as yours.
No, probably not. I
That
mean,
accurate?
it's,
Yeah, that's accurate, right?
yeah, I
Just
would
because
say
it
so. I
depends,
mean,
like the set and setting is important. And my set is pretty
incredibly.
like pretty chilling right now,
Hmm.
nothing major to worry about.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting the stuff that it comes up. I mean, that's how I felt the first time that I went into it. And boy, was I wrong about it. It's like,
Yeah, I'm
it
ready to
really
learn about
showed me
it.
a lot.
Wow,
Because
holy
the thing
shit.
about it is I think it's, of all the psychedelics I've done, I would say it's the most deep and the most intense healing work out of
Yeah, I
anything.
think anybody would agree with that. Yeah, certainly.
And it
I'm
does
ready.
so
I'm
through
dude, I'm
through
totally
like
ready.
trial.
I hear the call of Mother
Mm,
Ayahuasca, and I'm very much ready, to experience even the dark depths of it. I definitely am
mhm,
ready, I think, especially after this. Like I didn't, of course, do ayahuasca in the last 10 days or so, but I did get a chance to do some DMT, and or
mm,
at least and other things related, um, but very superficial, extremely superficial
mm,
compared to the deep journey that it sounds like you were on.
mhm. Yeah, the time scale on it is one of the big differences. I mean, DMT I find to be hard to like really
Yeah,
capture and
it's
find
just almost for
awareness within
fun,
the
really.
space.
It was only
Just like,
for fun. Yep, yep. And it gave me a good reminder of like, hey, wait a minute, this is a simulation. And I don't know if that realization is the same in the ayahuasca experience. What do you mean?
no, not at all. So yeah, let me get into a little bit of what I mean.
What?
So all right, let me. Where do I start here? So it's
Well, let's
it's
like let's go point of view. You approached the location, which we're keeping secretive, of course. And
mhm.
then what? Like, you know, w- do you guys do like a prayer ritual beforehand, hit the gong a few times, or um, how
Yeah,
does that
so
work?
yeah, let's do that part. So it's one beautiful thing about it is that it's very ceremonial. So
Yeah, I'm
it's
interested.
structured
How
in
many
a
people
way
were with
that,
you? How many people were with you? If you can share that at
oh
least.
right, so we had 30 some
Wow, what
people.
the hell? I thought you were gonna say you were like alone or something. What the hell? 30 people.
Yeah, it's a big ceremony. Yeah,
That's incredible. That is
right.
amazing. And is it just one shaman and his helpers, I guess, or
And his helpers, yeah, and quite a few helpers.
wow.
And so this is all taking place in this mountaintop temple, just in a gorgeous location with the giant. It was kind of like I guess almost like yurt shaped, but larger with really big open windows all on one side of the
Now, you
temple.
mentioned it was like a temple atmosphere. What sort of temple? We're
It was
talking like a
a
Jewish temple, a Hindu
no,
temple,
no.
a
I would say
Muslim temple, or just sort of
I
like
would say it's a
agnostic temple,
non-denominational.
non-denomination
Yeah,
spiritual temple.
yeah,
Okay, understood.
non-denominational temple. He
Understood.
built he built it by he built it with his own two hands, based like using the patterns of sacred geometry
Yes,
from
of course.
wood harvested from his property.
Yeah, kind of like what you're doing, but not on the same scale, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, very inspirational thing to see because
For
he's
sure. Yeah.
been he's been on the land for like 45 or 50 years or something. So he's been building for a long time. So yeah, you there's a lot of ceremony and ritual around it. It's kind of like this quiet, sacred space where once it becomes ceremony time, everybody, you know,
Can you give me a little
Everybody
framework of
starts to get.
what is the schedule like? So it's like 3 days long, 4 days long. What is that like? And what is like, do you guys get there in the morning? All 30 of you all get there, gather at 9 a.m. and then you guys start prep work? Is there a lecture? Or, how does, I was wondering if you give me more details like that.
Sorry, my phone's buzzing.
You're good.
Yeah, so it all happens at nighttime. So the daytime, everybody's arriving, prepping, kind of just meeting each other. It's very like relaxed and serene environment. Super like friendly, kind people, mostly young people at this one, although there were some people who were older. And yeah, you basically like, as the time approaches, everybody starts to get their place ready. And you make yourself a comfortable seat in the circle. So everybody sits in a big circle all the way around the temple. And you just have your spot, and you have your everybody has their little like sacred implements, whatever they wanted to have with them on the journey. You have a purge bucket, just in case.
Is this for vomit or diarrhea?
Vomit. If it's coming out of the top.
There's a bathroom.
Yeah, there's a bathroom too.
We're not in the jungle.
We're not in the jungle. Yeah, there was an outhouse outside, and I was capable of getting up to go out there if I needed to.
During the experience.
Yeah, it's hard. It feels a little bit like you're like walking in space or something.
What do you mean? Like I'm on acid or something, or what?
No, like you're an astronaut.
What? Yo, hold on. How is it compared to like 5 hits of acid?
It's super different.
Okay,
super
not
different.
in the same league. It's not like comparable. Is it close?
Yeah, no, I would say high dose mushrooms is more similar.
Okay, I've heard other people say that. That makes sense. What are the visuals like? Do you leave like, on DMT or salvia, you sort of leave this 3D reality? Is it the same there? Do you leave? But do you go in and out? You're able to go to the bathroom, obviously, so you're like in and out.
You can do both. Yeah, there's some times where I felt like I would be out of the room for like a long time, and I would go on these journeys, and then other time it was like my emotional landscape was almost like being projected on my surroundings. So it was like, one thing I noticed was like, if we're going through a period of like trauma and struggle, I would see that like image and energy projected on all of the people in the circle. So it was almost like I was in a circle of like, like hooded dark people who all kind of like seemed like shadowy and almost like I couldn't, like there was an intensity and like a fear in the air. And then other times the same people were like just like glowing with life and peace and love. And yeah, it's been really different for me every single time.
Tell me about the schedule. So you did it at nighttime. Like what time are we talking?
Mm-hmm. So we kind of started gathering around 7:30. I would say you probably end up actually drinking it around like 8:30 or 9.
Some ceremony, some ritual involved in drinking out of the holy cup, and then is it like 1 cup of some liquid? I'd imagine, or we're talking about a shot glass.
Cup. Yeah, it's basically like a shot. It's like a large shot
that
glass.
A large shot glass is very low volume of what I'm imagining. It's not like a big pitcher you're chugging down.
No, thank God, because it's quite unpleasant to drink.
It's dose. Is the experience dose dependent as well? Where if I did drink this pitcher, I would get a more profound experience.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, fair enough. I'm sure.
More intense. I don't know about more profound necessarily, but definitely more intense.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Like
you come back up for 3 different times if you like. So everybody does the
To
first
get
one.
to get it more. Did you get some more?
Yeah. So you have hours in between, and you're going through this really intense experience. And almost every time after the first cup,
sunrise?
I was, yeah, pretty much from dark until almost sunrise is the experience.
6 hours? 7?
Something like that. 7.
Okay. But within the
Yeah, and
7,
there's kind
8
of like
hours, within the 7, 8 hours, you can every 2 hours you take a cup or something like that is possible.
something like that, yeah. And there's kind of like a liminal space before and afterwards, where it's a blend. But yeah, after the first cup, every time it was so intense that I was like, I was almost like no more. Like
Yeah.
that's enough. Like I can't take anymore. And I just like barely, like by the time it came around to the second cup, I was like barely feeling like I might be able to possibly go up. And I had this thing inside of me that was like, all right, like you're gonna go into this thing like for the entirety of the experience and see what that is for you. And so I like,
Hell yeah.
found the strength
That
within
makes
myself
sense.
to get up
Hell yeah.
and get the
Hell yeah.
second one.
Yeah, you got
And
all the way
then,
there. You might as well.
yeah, exactly. And you also see the other people who you're doing ceremony with getting up to do it. And you're like, all right, like my brothers and my sisters are with me in this thing. And we're
Yeah,
like
I'm sure they're all
all
having the
going to
same
do it
thoughts.
together.
Same thoughts. Yes.
Yeah, you feel as though you have a sort of psychic connection with everybody in the room to a certain extent.
Certainly. Certainly. Now, is the shaman dosing as well?
Yes,
Okay. Not the helpers.
everybody is.
Even the helpers.
Helpers too.
Fuck
Yeah.
yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. You're like, man, one thing I found was like I was really impressed with how some people were able to handle the medicine and be able to like move and like deal with situations in the room
Is it
when I
because they've
just
done
felt
it
like
too
I
many?
was
They've
totally
done it
floored.
more times?
Yeah, basically. And there's, different people handle things differently. Like I'll say I'm kind of a lightweight when it comes to um things like this. Like I'll get pretty strongly affected. Except for LSD, I can handle a lot of LSD.
Understood. Well, you're able to keep some doors shut.
Yeah, for whatever reason, that one seems to suit me well. It goes down easy.
Same here.
Nice.
Yep, same here. I did it a few times myself over the last few days. Good times, but I'm still curious in hearing yours. So we have, you're in this. So this is the first night. People are going in and out. Everybody's dosed up, even the shamans. And what kind of things are they telling you during the experience to keep you like, good, high morale?
Right. So the thing I think is the most important is you just like, you understand that basically like the way to move through this is to sit with it and breathe through it. Because it's like whatever is coming up, and that's really good psychedelic advice in general. It's like sit with it and breathe through it, because whatever is coming up will pass.
So it's about allowance, which I'm sure you went in with this spirit of allowance, because you're more experienced in the psychedelic realm before doing something like this. So you knew that, at least going in. Sounds like, the medicine is far more powerful anyway. And certainly sounds like, can you explain like what kind of dark places or light places it took you to, or what kind of lessons you came out of it? And also I'm curious about the visuals. What is the visuals like? Is it more fractally geometric, wavy? What's that like? Except for I'm sure there's other aspects that are like DMT, which is like straight up otherworldly, but
Yeah, so I've seen that stuff before. This time I felt like it was more like it seemed to be revolving around like my personal drama in my life. Like it just was showing me a lot about where I'm at in my life, and kind of like also all these perspectives from what seemed like past lives. And so there's this aspect of healing generational trauma and healing the wounds of the ancestors, and also doing it for ourselves in the present time. So what I think my understanding of it is that like it brings things to the surface to bring them out, you know, like that whole theme of purging. It's like you don't need to hold this in your energetic field any longer. So we're bringing it up so that we can look at it, bring it into the light, and then release it, because we hold so much energy that is not ours, that we don't need to hold. So
Wow.
a lot of the darkest stuff that I was seeing was like these like cycles of generational trauma, especially with regard to men mistreating women. There's this big theme that I've seen both times during my ceremonies, that is like, you're a man, your job here, one of your jobs here is to protect the women, to take care of the women, to provide for the women, right? And obviously they provide for us as well, and you know, it's a co-creative relationship. But one of the most powerful, one of the most important roles of men here on this earth is, you know, is to be in that role of protector and provider.
Wow.
So yeah, it seemed like I've seen that cycle both times that I've done the ceremony, and just kind of, and both times it's kind of like linked up with my life. You know, it's like when that theme is a lot more prevalent for me, you know, now that I have a wife and a daughter, and another one on the way. I mean, don't know if they're a daughter. We'll see. I feel like he's a son, but that's another another subject. But yeah, so you see that stuff, you see that kind of like in looping visuals of like, it's almost like you're feeling the sensation of it, you're feeling like the sadness and the intensity of it all, and it just, and they're singing songs at the same time.
Ooh.
And yeah, so that's an
Ooh.
important part.
Who's singing?
The shaman and the other
Oh, I
musicians
thought it
are
was the
singing songs.
entities. I thought it was the entities were singing too.
No. That I have not found yet.
Yes. So what kind of songs? Are we talking like Ikaros?
Yeah, exactly. Ceremonial songs. And these songs, if you don't know, it would be a cool thing to look up the Icaros, but they're ceremonial songs that are designed to guide you through this exact type of experience.
I've done many trips where, you know, you put on some Ikaros for a few hours and do some holotropic breathing, and those have been the most difficult for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like this drudging, like this bringing up from the depths. It's like really intense.
Sometimes I question, like, why can't I get through this track? And it's like, dude, this music is something else. There's this one artist whom I highly recommend. It's not like some old Puerto Rican or Amazonian lady singing. It's like repetitive like verses. It's more musical. I think you've heard of him, Byron Metcalf. This artist, Byron, Byron Metcalf. He makes incredible music for journeys. That's kind of the name of many of his albums, is music for journeys. And he makes music for ayahuasca ceremonies, shrooms and things like that, and breathwork ceremonies as well. Highly recommend it during an experience. It ranges from like,
wow.
You know, it ranges from,
yeah, that
like,
was one of the big realizations for me.
What music? What it does to you?
Just how important it is.
Yes.
I'll get into that a little bit more.
Yes. On the difficulty scale, like 0 to 10, Byron Metcalf can range from 5 on the lowest end to 10 in terms of like intensity of like really bringing out what needs to be brought out, you know. and there's other music recommendations that are on the low end, like the Johns Hopkins, or who's the guy with the Ram Dass album? Slipping my name right now, but him as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah, I remember one of the first in my early years of psychedelics I was on a mushroom trip and I was just in my apartment in Madison, Wisconsin, and my roommate had a random playlist on in his room and like he wasn't there, it was just playing. And I was just in the house alone tripping on mushrooms. And I was just like, I wasn't, and it was kind of in the background noise. And I was like, why am I on such an emotional roller coaster right
Oh
now?
yeah,
Like, what's going on? And then I tuned in and I was like, oh, like this playlist is like taking me for a ride right now.
hell yes, hell yes. You can just change. You can get out of a bad trip or change the tune simply by changing the music. That's it's very easy.
Mhm. Yeah, I found that to be one of the most powerful things. It's like we know like everything is vibration. So if you're changing the vibrations with music, you're literally like changing your physiology.
Wow, wow.
So yeah, I feel really inspired to actually participate in music more because it's something that's been a
Really
little bit asleep in me. Yeah,
interesting.
totally.
Interesting. Interesting.
Because it's like I have my family is very musical. My dad's a great musician. He plays a lot of instruments and sings beautifully, and all my other siblings can sing and play guitar, and they're all quite musical. My mom can sing and used to play some other instruments. Yeah, and I just felt like I kind of had this block. So one of the things I saw during ceremony is like it almost felt like the fate or like the future of humanity was kind of like resting on our ability to like raise our voices and sing and dance together and like and just like give our all to whatever it is that we're creating, and in this case like giving our all to the work of being stewards of the earth. It's another thing with ayahuasca, it always comes back to that. It's like, hey, you don't forget you're taking care of this place, and if you fuck this up it could get a lot worse, a lot worse. I think there's a big aspect of that, like it shows you the darkness so that you understand like how important it is that you know take the right actions and sow the right seeds and really like pay attention and be present and show up, you know, show up for your family and your community and everything, because it can get way worse. Like shit can get really dark. So I think there's some kind of like teaching you lessons through warning you like that can feel really intense and almost like it's like hurting you. It's like, why are you doing this to me? You know, like why is it so intense? Why is it so painful? And then you kind of like come through or come down on the other side and you realize like it's showing you this for a reason, like so that you understand how powerful and how important your decisions are and your, you know, each day that you live and the words that you speak and, you know, that all of the actions that you take. So that was kind of like one of the big themes,
Is it scary?
really coming back to that. Yeah, yeah.
Do you lose your identity, knowledge, or structure, and like who is Alec? Like, you know, like that kind of that's happened to me on DMT. I was wondering if, or like a high dose, I'm sure it's
Mhm.
happened. It's something that happened.
Yeah, you certainly can. I mean, I felt like for me the journey was a lot about my personal drama. I mean, I call it LSD, Libra Scorpio drama, which is my specific cusp, the Libra the Libra cusp. Yeah, I felt like I was kind of wrapped up in that because I was like, those were the things that I had asked questions about.
Understood.
There's that other thing, which is like, how do you set your intention,
So you went
and
in
you
with
will
this
get
intention anyway.
what you ask for. Yeah, you will get what you ask for.
You went in with the more grounded intention of figuring out what's going on here. like in my body
Yeah,
and in my like
yeah.
relationships, not like you didn't go in wondering like I want to ask God this about it's more about like what's happening here, not about like, oh, what's the meaning of 42
Mhm.
or some abstract question. Yeah,
No, it wasn't much like that. It was very much like, I mean, one of my main questions was how can I be of service?
beautiful.
Really like yeah, like really getting specific about my right livelihood. How do I, like really provide for my family in an abundant way while, you know, while serving other people, serving humanity.
Were there entities?
Were there entities?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
What?
Angels to demons, man. I all the way.
Jesters too, or
I feel like I
because
don't
jesters for
recall
me are
seeing
more in the middle.
I don't recall seeing any jesters, but I'm sure they're in there. You can
Yeah,
I feel like it's a connection with all potentiality, you can go just about anywhere with it.
sure, that makes sense.
I did see the narwhal though,
No
which I
way.
had asked for. Yeah, totally. I had asked for that. I was like, I would like to connect with the narwhal spirit at some point during this experience. And so I was actually having like a really tough time. I was just in one of those like trauma loops where you're like it's like you see, like, think about like maybe the most persistent problem in your life,
Sure.
and you'll see it like come back around again and again and again
What
and
is it trying to
again, and
teach you?
like it's it seems like it's like showing you this, it shows you the problem from like a third person perspective, almost like you're looking at your drama as an observer in a sense.
Okay, so here's my question. So you said an interesting comment earlier where I said what DMT taught me was that, this is like a simulation, right? This isn't like certainly not the end all be all. There's like other realities where this is more like a game. And you said that the ayahuasca showed you a little bit of a different take on that.
Hmm.
How so? It sounds like
Yeah, I mean, I would say,
very much grounded.
yeah, I'd say it's almost the polar opposite take on
What?
that, which is like
Yeah, that's so interesting.
this
What?
this reality is, I mean, I think it's maybe not polar opposite, but it did seem to be very much saying like that
The
this is
importance, it's like
important,
weighing the importance of this reality is just as real as the other realities, right?
yeah, but it's like you're here now, and you're going to keep having this experience, and it is influenced by the actions that you take.
And so it's like
So
reincarnation, karma, all of that sounds real.
yeah, like whether it be a simulation or not, you're still going to have to sit through the whole
Correct.
movie.
Right, right. That knowledge doesn't help much. Well, it does help put an ease on things though.
Hmm. Yeah, and I agree with that. I agree with that perspective. Like I definitely go back to that, because my philosophy has always been like, has always had kind of like I'd say like Eastern flavor to it, like Buddhism and and Taoism and those type of, and Hinduism as well. I've always had like some appeal to me in terms of their philosophy. But I do like that idea of being able to step out of your drama and observe it, because it's like this avatar that you're passing through is not like, it's not the entirety of you. It's like it's a mask in a sense. Or like I like the word avatar. I think that's a pretty useful word. And it's like I'm
That's
playing
the
this
same.
role now.
That's the same wording that the Hindus use.
Hmm.
Pretty sure it's a
Yeah.
Sanskrit word anyway.
So before I forget, I'm gonna wrap up that narwhal story though.
Yeah, I want to hear
So
about that.
so I was
Was it a
struggling,
big?
like I
Was
was
it
seeing
big?
this trauma.
Big normal?
No. It was tiny, which was comical to me also. Like I was seeing this trauma and I was like, I felt like I couldn't get out of it. Like I was just in this loop, like, you know, like a bad trip moment where you're just looping and looping and looping. And then I just like all of a sudden saw this brightness, and it was like a tiny little rainbow narwhal. And he was just like right here, like kind of like right in front of me. And he was just like all cheerful and funny. It was just like he wasn't saying anything like with words, but he was just like, I'm here, Alec. Like, don't worry. You're going to be fine. Like, just keep on going. And then he was like, I'm always here. Like, whenever you need me, I'm right here.
Whoa. That is interesting. Wow.
I don't know if that's my personal narwhal or if he's just available to everybody, but I put that out there on the sharing circle afterwards. I was like, just so you guys know, if you want, there's this whale. He's right there for you.
What was surprising about what other people shared? What didn't you expect to hear? Because I know what I'd expect other people to say the similar things that you did. Like they saw trauma, they saw the light, they went in the darkness, came out through the light by the end of it. Typical ayahuasca like kind of loop, like hero's journey type of thing, right? Archetype, right? And you come out with, what were other people's realizations that maybe I could learn from or our listeners could learn from? Wondering if anything comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, I would say what was surprising to me was just like how incredibly different everybody's experiences were. You know, because we're all sitting in the same room, having the same medicine with the same music, and just like having 30 some like completely different experiences, although like somewhat in unison at the same time.
Was there any cannabis use or anything blown up your nose or any Syrian room?
No, well, there is the hape. Yeah, there was hape, which is the tobacco that they do up the nose.
Your nose, right? Yeah.
I did not. I elected not to do that. I was felt like the ayahuasca was intense enough, and then that stuff, I've done that stuff one time and I was just like, what the heck, like, why do people do this? But I could see, I do believe that there's a special power in the moment of ceremony that seems to be appealing to people. So
certainly. But anyway,
maybe next time I'll go for it.
What else did people share that was so different or weird or cool or beautiful? Or
let's see, I'm
trying to spoke to dead relatives or
yeah, actually there was some of that. There was like one girl said that she had found this, like, I think it was maybe her brother that passed, and she felt like she was able to go and see his, like, connect with his spirit and kind of like close a loop that she had remaining.
Maybe she got some closure.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not totally sure on the details of that, but I feel like somebody said something like that. I think, I mean, all around it was just like, it was like really, really deep, profound gratitude for the experience was the biggest thing. And also, like, something I found to be powerful is just like, is being together in a circle of people who are all choosing to do something that they know is going to be really difficult and uncomfortable. And they're just like stepping up and going to do it anyway. Like, as I've said a number of times, it really is deep healing work. And I think it's important on a planetary scale, not just on a personal scale. Because we're kind of like in this trauma loop as a global society right now as well. Or I shouldn't say this, I mean, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of different ones. But I feel that there's like, we're deeply disconnected from source energy, from nature, from God in a lot of places. Like, certainly not everywhere. I know a lot of people are very religious and are constantly aware of that connection. But I do think we're kind of like suffering from the heartbreak of disconnection from our, our roots, our native roots, our true nature, to to live more in connection with the earth and with
That
spirit.
sort of explains the artwork that came out of this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, but
Yeah,
hold on. So this was the first night.
I'll show
Was
you
there anything
show
different
you
on
guys that.
was there anything different on the second night?
Yeah, well,
How
so
many days
okay,
in
I'm
wait, how many days in a row did you take it?
two.
Okay. Anything different on the
So
second day?
I think I think maybe one of the best things I can do is read out a little bit of
Yeah, let's go
what I
over your
put out.
notes. Yeah.
And the first night also I did I did something that was kind of hilarious, a little bit embarrassing, a little bit uncouth, but I was ultimately forgiven and also I amused everybody in kind of a serious moment.
What was it?
But I accidentally broke the noble silence, because the way it works is that there's no unnecessary sounds. So you're allowed to sing along with the song that's happening. And there's certain times where you
Can you give me
vocalize
an
altogether.
example of what someone would sing? Like, can you give me like one sentence of a verse, or is it in
Yeah,
what
like
language?
todo es amor, todo es amor. All is
Okay,
love.
Spanish.
Yeah, most of it's in Spanish.
Okay, understood. Keep going.
So yeah, the noble silence. You're supposed to stay silent the whole time, not do even any unnecessarily loud breathing or anything. It's like you're as silent as possible, and that's part of the practice and the ceremony. And it's really difficult at times because you're going through such intensity, and we're used to being able to express what we're
Or
going
like,
through,
just start
right?
cracking up. A common experience for me is during psychedelic experiences, I'll just start cracking up because I'm a really happy guy. I'm usually always laughing anyway. But there's been times where I've screamed too, but most of the time it's usually
Mhm.
cracking up.
Yeah, and I found that to be the case more with other medicines. Ayahuasca, it
Probably
has
not
a
this
pretty
one.
a pretty serious vibe, although she'll joke around with you too. But I cracked up a couple times after I did this, because I was kind of like laughing at myself because it
That
was
was the
just so ridiculous.
uncouth silence
Yeah,
breaker.
so
You were laughing.
I'll tell you guys what I did. No, I wasn't laughing. So I had this, and I was kind of telling you about my feeling about singing, how it's kind of like it's very much not in my comfort zone. It's something I would like to be able to do, but it's like public speaking, like I could hop up and do that in a second. But if you want me to sing in front of a group, like nope, that's not going to be an experience that I choose. But I did have this feeling like, okay, like meeting that would be kind of like a beautiful and challenge to take and whatever. And I had this song in my heart, and as I was saying before, like you kind of feel like you have a psychic connection with everybody in the room. And so I was in one of those trauma loops. I was really struggling. Like I felt like I was just kind of like getting emotionally, spiritually like beaten down to the point where I was just like, no, like it's enough. Just make it stop. I just want this to be over. I wasn't saying any of this out loud, but that's how I was feeling. And the one thing you can say is help. If it's too much for you in some way, you can say help, and the helpers will come and they'll help you, right? So I was on the verge of saying that, and I was just like in this
You were, damn,
struggle
dude.
mode.
I mean, you're quite a veteran.
Dude, it's not with this.
Holy
Not
shit.
this is a whole new
Do you
experience.
recommend going solo or with a friend?
What's that?
Do you recommend going solo or with a friend? One of you.
I would go in ceremony, go with a shaman who you trust.
No. Go in. I mean, of course that. I mean, go into like a ceremony with other people, with
Oh,
with a friend or
it's
solo.
nice. Yeah, it's nice to have somebody who know there.
Okay,
I
cool.
didn't. I barely knew anybody there, but I ended up making friends with a bunch of people
I
there.
see.
So
I see.
I was,
It's not like you went with
that
your
was
wife.
nice. It's kind of, yeah, it's kind of a journey that you take on your own once you're in there. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah. But it does, like, all the people there really do make a difference. So there's a little bit of both. But yeah, so anyways, I was in that trauma moment and I was just like feeling like beaten down and worn down by it all and just like ready to cry for help, basically. And then I was like, wait, you know what? I'm not powerless. Like, I can do something about this. I can stand up to this. And I like changed my physiology and started like sat up really straight. And I had this feeling like I had psychically connected with the shaman who is directly across the circle to me. And I stood up all the way, like, and like squared my shoulders and stood up as tall as I could and was like, I can face this. I know what to do. And I looked across at the shaman and made eye contact with him. And how in my head I was like, he's saying, go for it, Alec. And I was like, all right, this is my moment. And then I took 1 second and I was like, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it with full power. And so I had that thought. And then I was like, Amazing Grace. And just start singing really loud all of a sudden. And then from across the room, the shaman like looks up and then gets up and like darts across the circle to me really quickly and comes up and he's like, Alec. Just like, and I was like, I thought you were saying go. Sorry. And it was like it was a moment of comic relief, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, dude, that's an understatement.
It was also, yeah, kind of
What made that
embarrassing. I
song
felt
pop?
bad.
What made that song pop up in your head?
That's a special song to me. My grandfather was a preacher, a minister, and my dad's family used to sing like church songs a lot together, and they were singing that song in his hospital bed as he passed away. So there's, yeah, it just has a lot of special meaning to me. It just gives me a feeling of like nostalgia and connection.
Wow, that's beautiful. So
Yeah,
this is
it
almost
was something.
this cathartic experience for you, bellowing that out in this time of, let's call it a bad trip.
It was a bad trip at that moment, yeah, for sure.
Wow,
It
and you
wasn't
stood up.
fully, it wasn't,
Everybody's laying down, or
yeah, and
you
it's
stood up
like
on your feet.
I stood up all the way and did that really loudly because I was like, if I'm gonna sing, I need to give it everything I've got.
Dude, that's crazy. You're crazy.
And so they like all was forgiven, and I apologized to people for breaking the silence, and I think a lot of people thought it was really funny, so they were not like mad at me for it because it was just like it was just honestly ridiculous, and I felt like that was the perfectly absurd song to be singing while doing that too. The perfect song for an outburst like that.
Yeah, yeah. And it wasn't like annoying. It wasn't like you went on for like 20 minutes either.
No, I realized quickly that I was
Yeah.
not, it was not what I thought it was, and I needed to shut it down.
Yeah, that's
Because the shaman was across the circle like that. It was like as soon as I started coming out, he was like right there.
I'm sure he's seen
Like,
it all.
damn, how did you move that fast? But he did say afterwards, he was like, I've never seen anything like that, and I will never forget that.
Oh, that's hilarious. No way. How old is this guy? We're talking.
Seems like he's not. I would say he's a
called an old soul.
probably, yeah. I would say he's probably in his
like
30s.
Wizard energy.
No, well, that was the guy. That was the guy whose property it was. The shaman was a different guy, and
shaman
he,
for hire.
I would say, in his 30s.
Shaman for hire.
Mm-hmm.
Could you be a shaman?
What's that?
Could you be a shaman? Let's say with the proper instruction, little class.
I would need a long training
Let's call
period.
it a shaman program, training program.
If I had the right training program, I would be interested. Yeah.
Interesting. Seems.
But I don't see that. I don't see that being a part of my life anytime soon. I've got a lot of other things on my plate. I don't need to be like.
Of course. Let's say
conjuring demons or whatever.
The 2-year training process could be condensed to an hour, and you would take it. Seems appealing. If this 30-year-old guy could do it, then why wouldn't you? You would make a great shaman, I'm sure too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more about like my lifestyle and how it is right now. I just don't feel it would be compatible with with where I'm at.
Yeah, I'll see you later, guys. I'm gonna go. Do this every weekend.
I'm gonna be in the jungle for the next couple months.
Yeah, come back, Maestro.
You can come with me, but
Maestro Hamilton. Come back as Maestro Hamilton.
That would be wild. Yeah, it was something that I was, it's like I see it as extremely valuable, important work, and it's something I've certainly been drawn to in my life. But I also understand like how serious it is.
Certainly.
Like
you cannot.
It's a deep commitment, and you're really taking people's lives
not
into your
something
hands.
You could just hear on Joe Rogan and just do on a whim.
Yeah.
You would advise.
Yeah,
and I'm sure people have tried that. I know a buddy that he did it. He even did some at home, and did it with 2 of his friends, and they drank some, and then they saw like a spirit on like a corner of the room, and these guys are pretty scientific guys, right? And then when they saw that, they all bailed, and they decided that it's best to have a shaman if they're going to do it. They were not ready for that metaphysical shit. You know what I mean?
Dude, yeah.
Yeah,
I would highly recommend taking an experienced guide.
Of course.
For sure.
But it is.
I felt like
with the problem of Aya tourism, it is difficult to find the right kind of connection. I don't know if this was an invite only thing or you found it on Groupon or what. There's both ends of the spectrum there. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you fall somewhere in that spectrum with how you got this guy. But I just think it's amazing, and I am really interested in doing so myself, and especially with a friend or two that I know are really interested as well. We all feel sort of the calling, and was the second day more forgiving, with some sleep? Or
it was a little bit, yeah. I still did go through a lot of trials and tribulations, but I did feel like it was a little more gentle. And yeah, it really, like, another thing I'll say, another recommendations, if you're gonna go do something like this, highly recommend going for the entirety of the experience. Because I think if I had left for some reason after the first night, it would have been like leaving all these like all these unclosed loops.
I think I fall on the other end of the spectrum where I'm trying to go on a week-long experience here and take it like 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I'm saying is
I've heard that on the longer,
go for the whole thing.
Yeah,
whatever
I've heard
the whole
on the
thing
on the longer retreats that there are some days during the week that you may decide, or the shaman may decide, for you not to drink, or for you to have a lower dose or a higher dose. and some
Mhm.
days you may not drink at all. You may just be there for the the smoke in your face and the ritual. But I am interested in something like that as well.
Mhm.
But I love your advice because you
Yeah,
don't want to leave any doors open, or
yeah.
any unresolved energies. Can
There's
you
an
imagine
arc to the
coming back with
experience.
unresolved
It's like
energies? Yeah.
you're being led through the entirety of an experience, so you don't
Now,
want to get left in the middle.
how many days ago was this for you?
In a galaxy far, far away,
Mm,
back when I was in the jungle,
makes sense.
weeks and
Makes
weeks
sense.
ago.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Thanks for keeping it vague. That's good. That's smart. Um,
Yeah, so the second night was really ended beautifully. It was like just it really wrapped up with this like the most like joyful, beautiful singing and dancing.
I see.
It's kind of like it breaks you down completely and then lifts you up
Rebuilds you
even
back
more
up. That's a
powerful. Yeah,
common story. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
even stronger. Yeah, I
And I
felt
guess what I was trying to
felt that I
ask,
was stronger afterwards.
what I was trying to ask before with the dates was not so much it's recent enough where do you think you're still integrating? You still
Oh
think it's
yeah,
still the
definitely.
wound is still fresh?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the last time I did it, I felt like it was 5 or 6 years of integration.
Does your family notice any difference in you?
I would say yes. I mean, you'd have to ask them, but I would say yes.
Do you feel a difference in you?
Yeah, definitely. It's one thing is that like it shows you all this stuff, but it's still up to you to integrate the lessons and actually take action on them.
That's where the most important part of the trip is the 5 or 6 years post trip. That's
Mm.
where anybody can go for a weekend astral plane visit, but what's important is the integration, what you come home with and how you apply it. Any strategies, tips, or anything in particular action wise that you're doing? I know you're going with a different energy with how you care for your women in your life and how you care with being the provider and um, sowing the new seeds and feeling the responsibility and your duty to do so. It's your
Mhm.
dharma, and it's your role in life that you're playing right now at this age. Um, any thoughts on that? Or
Yeah, a big one is reading, writing, speaking, singing, playing music.
see, I don't do any of that, and I've always been intrigued by art. When I was little, I used to draw a lot, and I felt like it was kicked out of me by math and science class homework. And I I've I've had an inkling in the last few days that I've never had since I was little to draw, like just for fun. It's not something I do, but it is something I remember I really enjoyed. Um, and and I'm fresh coming back from this arts festival, and I bought some art and it's on this way here. And I don't know, it's just something about, and I've been feeling really bored lately, and I feel like, why am I here? I'm here to create, right? That's why we're all here. And that's something I'm not
Mhm.
actively doing. It's something in the last few years, the way I created was through business, like my my businesses that I've had were all art to me, in the way I create it. It's just like whether it's digital, relational, society, whatever way I created it, I saw it as art. And that's what scratched the itch. And now that I'm not actively pursuing businesses, it's almost like empty time. I'm like extra free. And it's like, and it's silly being bored. I do feel silly being bored, because it's like, I feel like I need a project, but I don't want to like do a business project. I want to actually like create like, art. So anyway, I'm just sharing that. That's what I'm going through right now. I'm thinking of, and you mentioned art, music, journaling. Those are all things I'm not doing. And it sounds
Well,
like,
the ayahuasca says you should go for it.
yeah, there's probably some pent up creational energy. Journaling, when I seldom do it, has been powerful. I don't know why I don't do it. It's probably the same reason I don't exercise or meditate or, self-care.
Yeah, it's work, it's maintenance.
Sure, definitely.
Sometimes it's play.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. I agree. But hey, yeah. Anyway, you were saying that you're doing these like 4 or 5 things more, you're putting more energy towards those. Sounds like they're all related to creation, all related to expression. Um, are you sharing some lesson that the Mother Ayahuasca told you into the world through your art?
Hmm. Yeah, I'll share it right now. All right, so this is coming back to that one of these themes that we've been talking about. So it'll get dark for a second, then it'll come back around. For too long, we've allowed the perpetuation of violence towards each other, violence towards ourselves, from brother to brother, from brother to sister, on and on and on. The cycles of violence continued and allowed, funded and encouraged by our silence, allowed and encouraged by our refusal to stand up, our refusal to speak up. It does not end until we put a stop to it. It does not end until we stand up with our voices and our actions, with our songs and our dances, stand up for what is true and good and right. When our brothers and our sisters are not free, we are not free. When our fathers and our mothers are not free, we are not free. It is my prayer that our ancestral lines be healed and that we put a stop to these cycles of violence. It begins right in the center of your chest, in the center of your heart. From there, it radiates outwards. Your electromagnetic field touches and merges with the hearts around you, near and far. Do not be afraid to use the magic words, I love and forgive myself. I love and accept myself. Do not be afraid to use the magic words, I'm so sorry, please forgive me. Do not be afraid to use the magic words, you were right, I was wrong, please forgive me. I love you. I see you. I hear you, and I understand you. The cycles continue until we put a stop to them. Men, we're here to protect the women. Protect and provide and preside. The women hold new life in their wombs. They bring forth from our seed the life and the love and the future. They carry in their waters the new generations, magical, mystical, ancient, wise children. We will show them the way, and they will show us the way. From the darkness into the light, from the violence and bondage to peace and prosperity. We are the stewards of this earth. We are the stewards of this earth. It is my prayer that we understand and embody this in this magical now moment and onwards in perpetuity. It is my belief and conviction that by creating healthy, loving relationships, we can create healthy, loving families who bring forth healthy, loving children, and together we make healthy, loving communities that take care of each other and take care of the earth. It is my conviction to speak my truth even when I am afraid and when my voice shakes. It is my conviction to stand up, to make art, write manuscripts. Words hold great power. May we use them wisely in this magical now moment and onwards in perpetuity. This is one of my favorite quotes from the ceremony that my friend Alicia shared, which is, I hereby call forth all of my magic. May it bless, heal, and inspire the hearts of men and women. This is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. The time is now. Get to work and get to play. Finally, once again, may all of our ancestral lines be healed. May we awaken to the fullness of our potential. May our works go forth to bless, heal, and inspire the hearts of men and women. May this new cycle of peace and prosperity continue on in perpetuity. Todo es amor. So that was something that I wrote after the first night.
Wow. It's very heavy, very profound, very meaningful.
Yeah, it gets heavy, man. It really does.
Yeah, especially in light of current events. And absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're sick, and we're feeling the sickness that comes with separation from our nature.
Yeah, this weekend I spent some time in nature. I was in northern woods of Wisconsin. It's a place that I'm pretty foreign to. And being there and being separated from the phone and the computer, I'm pretty much addicted to the phone and the computer 24/7. Because I have nothing else to do. I just sit here in front of the phone and computer. And
You're on it.
yeah, and then all the time. I didn't even realize it until I was out there for 10 days. And then, I'm separated and, I'm looking out the window and I'm seeing, bald eagles fly by and deer and foxes and wolves and, fish and, this lake a few feet away. And it was so inspiring, it gave me like new ideas of like, wow, this is it, this is where I want to be, this gave me like kind of a goal to orient to, you know what I mean? It gave me the idea. Before it was just like, yeah, I would get a cabin in the woods. That's what I would say. But like this actually like planted like an image, um,
Mm.
but yeah, what you're saying is true. This disconnect between humanity, society, and our roots and spirit. This is one of the reasons why I'm so keen on sharing spirituality or tools to get you there. Because I do believe that, if we were in a more spiritual society, a more higher consciousness living as a whole, we would start to mend, start to heal, start to close up these holes. Things like this, school shootings would happen less frequently, right? If we as a whole were to, go on to heal. And I do think that what's happening are just symptoms of this ongoing healing that's been going on for probably hundreds of thousands of years. We're just in the peak of healing journey that's been going on since the dawn of time. And
yeah, it seems like it's cyclical too. It's like
certainly it's almost akin
come to create places.
Well, the Hindus describe it as a flower, where there's like a blooming phase, and then a peak phase, and then there's a wilting phase, then a death phase, and then a new reborn phase. And there's argument whether we're in the wilting phase right now or whether we're not, but
or whether in the death phase.
no, it's either that or the one before. And the phases are like, you know, millennia and a millennia long, so it's not like you would be off by 1 or 2 years. It's like, you know,
It's a big cycle.
yeah, it's a big cycle, but it's one of those things like that cat in the box where if I look at it, I know it's dead. If I look up like what phase we're in according to the Hindus, it may plant some seed that we're in the wilting phase, and I don't want to live my life any differently. So I'm gonna decide
Yeah,
not to look that up.
no need to manifest that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna not pretend. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna not know
no
it.
need, no need to manifest that. Kind of
Right.
on that same note, I think I'll say it again. I think one of the most important things that I found of the ceremony is like simply the power of coming together in ceremony, coming together to sing and dance and pray together, right? And it doesn't have to take place around
Power of
plant
community.
medicine by any means.
Power of
Exactly.
community.
It's power of community, and specifically like spiritual community.
Perhaps this is well, this is nice for me to hear because this is giving me ideas of ways I can, you know, share my wealth. Is, you know, building these type of, and you know, if giving my time and my effort towards these type of you know how I said I'm bored earlier, like, you know, why don't I produce my effort in building this kind of spiritual community, you know, or joining one myself, you know, and I've done them in the past, and you know I found them to be really beneficial and really powerful and really interesting, you know, finding people that are as weird as you or on the same path as you. Most people don't even practice introspection, let alone go to these deep levels, you know what I mean? um there's
Mhm.
far more people that are
Yeah.
afraid to look at themselves in the mirror, let alone, you know, um hop into a ceremony. But there's plenty like us, and I think
Mhm.
more and more of that is growing, and more of that was shown to me when I went to this music festival, the Psychedelic Festival, and I was like, oh wow, you know, there's other people that are into this, into taking these
Mhm.
substances, you know, and I found that to be, again, more community there, right? More people, they've gathered there, you know, for a specific cause, you know, to spread love. And I think that when done as a group, that prayer, ritual, breath work, doesn't have to be drugs. It could be like just, you know, reading scripture. And I think that is
Mhm.
really powerful.
Static dance.
Ecstatic dance. Yeah. You know, a lot of, you know, a friend of mine that just moved to Asheville, he was participating in a lot of ecstatic dance with a lot of his new friends out
Mm.
there. And I was like, dude, that's so cool. And my friend Niraj from Soma Breathwork, he hosts these like ecstatic dance retreats all over the world. That's like what he does all day long, you know, like I think that's super cool.
That's great. Yeah. That's spiritual practice as well.
Certainly it's very freeing. And I do feel this one, I met this one guy at the festival, and he didn't ask me like how I was doing or anything like that. He asked me after he found out, you know, I was dosing up that day, or I was dosed up at that moment, you know, pretty much peaking. We were playing bocce ball. You ever play bocce ball?
Yeah.
Dude, never heard of bocce ball, dude. I've never seen it. And I'm seeing this couple play this game. This, you know, looked like a partner couple, boy and a girl. They were like, you know, in their late 30s or so, and they were playing bocce ball in like this big pit. And I've never seen it. And I walked up to them, you know, I was just, you know, on acid, just like watching, like, you know, what is this cool thing, you know, because I wasn't like hanging out with the group. I wasn't really into the music, or I was just, you know, walking around like solo pretty much on my own adventure. And they were playing me, and then, you know, they let me play, they explained the rules, and they were excited to have me. And, you know, I got to know them. And this guy asked me, are you feeling unlocked? And I thought that was a really cool question to ask, because I've never thought about it that way. Um, but it was totally true, you know, and this is my second Infrasound, and this like second time in the Midwest, and I was having an identity crisis from still ongoing from the first one in back in September. Not I'm like questioning who the hell I am, or what I relate to, or where I fit in and stuff, and finding all these people. I'm like, oh, am I one of you guys, or like, what's going on here? It's like finding my biological family that I never knew existed, so there's it's pretty
That's
interesting.
awesome.
Yeah, he asked me if I'm feeling unlocked, and I would say that there is still a lot of me that remains locked,
Mm.
and ecstatic dance does not sound anything that I would sign up for right now, but I would imagine that as things unlock, that maybe in my future too.
Hmm. Yeah, ecstatic dance is definitely an unlocker. I feel like I had some pretty big locks around dancing and singing, and I'm working to unlock both of those because I think they're both such joyful practices. And yeah, there's a lot
Yeah,
in there, in terms of like, okay, so if you don't feel comfortable dancing, like why?
yeah, exactly. There's so much to unpack there. There's a
What
lot.
is that?
Yeah, there's a shit ton to unpack there. I've been on that same thought pattern lately, just figuring that out. Certainly. I remember I took chorus in college, just to get an easy A. Um, and I ended up liking it. Um, I still lip sang. She gave me a B, but it was pretty interesting. She made me stay
Mm.
after class, like kind of like detention almost, and would make me sing solo with her. Like she was like trying to get me to unlock myself and like
Yeah.
realize innate talent that I wasn't sharing during class. And that was the first time ever in my life that I sang out loud. You know what I mean? And it's just me and
Mm.
her in this room. And I thought that was a pretty cool experience. So there's probably a lot more experiences like that I've yet to embrace.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful experience. Yeah, I had a similar thing with dance, I guess. When I lived in Austin, my girlfriend was all about ecstatic dance, and she absolutely loved it. She was a really great dancer, and she was just really like free and open in that space, and I felt like really self-conscious
Yeah.
dancing, but we just kept going back every week. It was Sunday morning dance church, and yeah, I got to the point where I really looked forward to it and enjoyed it, and I didn't feel nearly so self-conscious. I definitely am not fully unlocked in that realm, but I'm further than I was. And a lot of that, I mean, when I was traveling around doing the painting and going to festivals, you can't paint all the time. You got to take some dance breaks. So I did a lot of like,
Dude, I'm one of
I
those
think when
guys. Like,
you're,
I'm a punch bowl guy. I'm like in the back, like, sipping on punch. Like I'm not
dude,
exactly like,
you gotta get in there, man. What I was gonna say though is when you're at a place where people are really dancing free,
yeah.
it makes it more easy to open it up. Because
Oh yeah.
if
Oh,
everybody is just
well,
not
these last two
self-conscious,
festivals, I danced pretty much for the first time in my life.
wow,
Because you know what I mean? It's like I got to be
that's
free of
great.
judgment, free of
Mhm.
here I am, I'm like thousands of miles away from anybody I know. Everybody here is
Mhm.
weird as shit. And like from my frame of reference, right? They're weird as shit in the general
Yeah.
frame of reference, but for mine, they're extra weird, right? And I'm like, whoa, what is, so I was like, I was able to be free, and I did try, dancing, for example, is one thing. And um I got to be, take off a few masks, really be
Mm.
myself. You know what I mean? In terms of a lot of things. And I guess that uncovering process was what was giving me those thoughts of like, who the hell am I? You know what I mean? Because you're like
Mm.
discovering a new person. So that's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. What a great thing. Beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
I really like about those parties is that openness, and also I feel like everybody's kind of like a caricature of their avatar. You know what
Yes.
I mean?
Yes. Absolutely. Not only do you get to be yourself, but you get to be a satirical version of it, or a more empathized,
Hmm.
empathized version of it, emphasized version of it, because
Yeah.
um, it's more
Amplified.
fun. Yeah. So I got to be like, extra psychedelic, or extra Raj.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's
I
great.
got everybody, so that was pretty fun. Yeah,
I love that game.
certainly, certainly, absolutely.
So what other experience stick out from that round?
Well, more drug
Infrasound.
experiences. Well, probably the drug experiences I had there. I wasn't really there for the music as much as the friendships that I met last time, reconnecting with them. I
Mm,
met like randoms last time that I reconnected with this time. Saw a lot of familiar
mm,
faces.
cool.
The lake house experience after the festival was more of a surprise. I didn't even expect that part of the vacation, but at least the first half,
Mm,
the infrasound itself, the festival, I was camping out for 4 days this time instead of 2. So I got to really like, pace myself in terms of substances. I didn't have to like squeeze it all in. I got to like, really spread things out
yeah.
and really enjoy and milk the experience of it all. And I really practiced a lot of restraint, meaning I didn't do any MDMA this time, because last time I did so, I remember I was walking in circles all night and I was like, I really want to sleep this time around. It's not like I'm really into I like the light shows and all that, but not like I really care about the music so much anyway. Um, Heavy bass metal music. And actually, what was interesting about music is that I started to appreciate bass music. Bass music, of course, right? Like heavy bass
Mhm,
music, right? So I never
mhm.
even had an appreciation for it. The first time I really heard it was last Infrasound, and I never heard it since. And I didn't build an appreciation for it until 3 days into the festival. I was laying on a hammock and um, just like, in my own space, I took a few tabs and I was just like solo, not dancing, because not really dancing music. And I like started to get it and started to appreciate it. I was like, whoa, now I get it. So that was pretty cool. I didn't like, it was like discovering a new color, discovering a new music genre. So that was kind of
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Cool.
And then but anyway, yeah, a lot of ketamine, like a shit ton of ketamine. And I
Oh
had
wow.
maybe, yeah, a few times a day. But what was unfortunate was that, this was my first foray into like heavier doses and more frequent doses. I had my own bag of this time. And what was unfortunate was that I was prone to extreme nausea. I don't know if that's a common thing. People in my camp
Mm,
group was telling me that was super common and that I'm not alone.
yeah.
But I it got to the point, halfway through the weekend where I just gave my bag away. I was just like, it's not for me. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
just the like thrown up, the cost benefit of it was not there. Although the first half,
Mhm.
the first 3 quarters of it was super awesome, super pleasant. I really enjoyed it. And then the last quarter, I would throw up and stuff or get really nauseous on the come down, um,
Mm,
glued to the grass, which is fine. But
yeah.
you know, it was a
I've been there.
new experience for me for sure. I really enjoyed it, but not the thrown up part. So I gave it up. One of the things what I wanted was at the lake house later, I wanted to go into a K-hole. I wanted to experience a K-hole in a right setting, right? Not at the
Mm,
rave, but rather at home in the lake house. So I
right.
still had that planned. So I gave up the ketamine for the rave, for the festival. Uh, I just dosed up LSD a few days in a row, 2 days in a row. I just had to take a higher dose the next day. Stayed away from anything else. Oh, did the whippets. I never done whippets before.
Oh
My
yeah.
friends, my friends told me it was called hippie crack because it's like a few bucks a pop, and it's like, wow, it was my first time trying whippets. I was like, hey guys, because I would like to try the whippets. It's my first time. I want to get initiated into the into this realm, and I tried it, and it was really intensely interesting. Really, it was only like probably like 2-3 minutes long, and there's this audio that comes with the whippets, like this wub 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 kind of, yeah, like that. Yeah, like what the fuck is up with that? It's like, was that bass audio? Is that audio of bass reality? That's what I thought. This must be the audio of the divine, and kind of like with DMT as that high pitched tone, it was similar to that. Oh, then I mixed LSD with the whippets and had a DMT like experience as well, where oh yeah, this was the best experience of probably the year, let alone the weekend. After I had this experience, I pretty much decided that nothing is going to top this. There's no need to chase the dragon. I pretty much went pretty sober most of the rest of the experience for the most part. I didn't have to go as hard because I already had the peak experience. I met the divine, and I met what I felt was God, the energy of God. What happened was time froze. I was in this slice of space time, and you know how you have to be nudged to take a third hit. I remember being nudged to take the third hit, took the third hit of the whippets, and thank God I was looking at this tree right above me. We're camping, and if I was looking at somebody ugly, that moment would have been frozen for like 5 minutes. So thank God it was this tree, and every passing second, the visual of the tree got more and more beautiful, meaning it went up in definition, like it went from standard definition to HD to 1080p to 4K, like that happening every second but anyway, time was frozen, no audio, audio was frozen. And then I realized what was going on, and I felt like my soul was free, that I was still like looking through my eyes, but I felt unplugged. I felt plugged into source. And I felt like the tight shoe was taken off, as Ramdas says, like I felt like I was out of the physical limits of my body, and I was enjoying what it was like to be me. I was still me, which was interesting, and yeah, and it was just, then I saw that tree kept getting more and more HD, and then the eyes came out. The eyes started to pop out of the tree. And I think whatever I was looking at, I would have seen these eyes, but they were like the eyes of God, or the eyes of this angel, or this entity were coming out. And it felt like the eyes are always there. And the only reason I could see them, it was because things were more high definition. It's not like they were a hallucination or like something imaginary. What I'm seeing is more HD than what we're seeing right now, is how I interpreted it, at least.
Wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, and this girl did it with me. She was on the same acid. We did the whippets within the same few seconds of me, with the same environment, same crew, same friend group. And she had the exact same experience I did. And she sat next to me after, and we were telepathic for about 10 minutes, which was pretty interesting. Yeah, that was pretty trippy. Yeah, pretty weird in a good way. Like pretty like, whoa, what the hell? Like telepathy was abundantly real in that moment. We were on the same frequency.
That's what it is.
Right. But anyway, yeah, and a little bit of DMT pen here and there, but what else? Cocaine. I'm not a big fan of cocaine, but I did a few bumps out of boredom, really, here and there. Yeah.
It'll certainly keep you awake.
What?
I said it'll certainly keep you awake.
Yeah. I didn't like. There's I had a full bag on me. There's a lot of opportunities for me to do more, but I just kept it smaller. I just used it to more so give it away to people, which was a good time for me, but not really my thing. I don't particularly enjoy it. It doesn't give me nauseousness, which is great, but at the same time, I don't enjoy the high that it gives me whatsoever, really. So
Yeah, there's weird vibes with that.
no, it's not weird. It's negative vibes, really. It's not weird is a lighter way to putting it, in my opinion. I do think it's somewhat
Yeah,
sinister, sinister vibes.
well, I've seen that it can be sinister. I don't think it's inherently sinister.
I don't know.
That
I'm a big believer
it's
in this
connected
theory of
with a lot of
the
dark
chemist.
energy.
Think about the woman that cooks your food. Her energy is imparted into the food. I can't imagine
Hmm.
the chemist of LSD that's singing mantras to his vial is this the same energy as some cocaine producer wherever the shit was cut. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, and I
yeah, for
do
sure.
and even if you do it in a group of friends, I have not found anything even close to weed, for example, in terms of positive energy that comes out of cocaine use. I think just sharing a joint would yield far more greater results um, than than cocaine. It's not really my thing, but it is fun. I mean, I do get it. Don't get me wrong, I do get it, but it's not really my thing. I so yeah, we pretty much stayed with the LSD most of the experience. Um, very good, very good. I experienced new gel tabs, different strains of LSD throughout the weekend. Some at the lake house, some at the festival. Was comparing what each strain of the LSD did. It was interesting, how they were all different and similar. You know,
What
was
type
fun.
of observations did you have with regard to that?
Well, the LSD that I have for like my lifetime home use is a derivative, meaning there's not much visuals on it. It's very much in your head, right? It just came that way coincidentally. So when I was there, I got to experience, more pure versions that are far more visual. So I remember like taking note of that and noting how each of them have different gradients of visual. Some were brighter, some were more wavy. I took gel tabs. Um, what else? So that's just the visual. But oh, one thing in particular that stood out was the acid that I have, the one that's not so visual, is it's cornery. It's not wavy. It's really cornery, boxy, I would say, rigid, and almost metaphorically as well. Because once I took the other acid, I realized that the acid I have is like a strict parent energy. It's like
Wow.
rigid. It's like a headmaster energy, you know, and it's very rigid, strict, right? And the acid that I took there was far more forgiving, like a mother caressing a baby, gentle,
Wow.
really, really forgiving. That's what a word I kept using when I was telling my friends about it, how different it was. And I don't think it had to do with the set or setting either, because I did experience it solo as well. Yeah, the lake house helped, but and I guess positive vibes helped. But no, it wasn't that at all. It was definitely different. You know,
Hmm.
it's definitely had a very forgiving energy.
And can you identify the strains that each one
All I
you're
can say
referring
is
to is?
the ones that are more forgiving were more pure, from a
Mm,
pure derivative or not or non-derivative, probably closer to LSD 25 than anything else.
mm.
But the ones
Yeah,
I
I've
have
seen
are
a
like
really wide
are
range of
really really
experience
strict.
with it.
What's that?
There's a ton of variation with
Yeah, well, I tried
different
some. I
types.
tried some. I think you're someone we both mutually know um, gave me some that I really enjoyed. Um, but I also noticed how that was different than the ones I had over the past weekend.
Who did you meet who I know there? Or should
No,
we not
not
share their name on the podcast?
no, I'm not sharing their name on the podcast, but not somebody that was there. Somebody outside of there. I had a different LSD experience with somebody else that we know.
Oh, okay, cool.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then that was interesting too, a very new experience as well. But I got a taste
Mm.
of the appreciation since they were so close together, all these experiences. I got to appreciate like and tease out why they were so unique and different. And yeah, also different in terms of duration a little bit as well. The come up and come down, mine is far sharper. It's just strict 6 hours.
Mhm.
And this one had a more, an hour in, I was like, did I even take anything? Whereas mine is like 30 minutes in, you're like, you're already there.
Mm.
Could be difference in strength as well.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, sounds like you got some writing to do.
I didn't even know I had any writing to do till you said that. So it sounds like that's probably more reason I have writing to do. Yeah, I didn't really journal much. I didn't take any experiences, any deep realizations out of any of the acid trips in particular. I took more out of the Whippets experience where I saw God. That was a little bit more powerful reminder. Everything else was pretty in the much in the recreational camp, and I kept it that way purposely. I didn't really explore anything deep, nor was there anything much to explore at the moment. It's kind of like the phone didn't have any messages. I already checked everything. When I went into this like
Mm.
vacation, this experience, it coincided with some anxiety related to crypto. What um, I felt like I digested that on the first acid trip.
Mm.
Digested what I needed to digest, and after that, it was smooth sailing for anything else I've had in the past few weeks. There hasn't been
Mhm.
anything much to uncover. It's been more for fun, really. Been watching movies, really, more than anything.
Watching the movies.
Yeah,
Yeah, the crypto's been struggling. That's definitely a source of emotion at times.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's one thing if it recovers back, but with Luna, it went all the way down. And there were moments where
Mhm.
I was all into Luna. I'm talking multiple seven figures. So that could have been me.
Whoa.
What I felt like on this acid trip, this trauma I felt, it was pure trauma. I felt like I was walking on the sidewalk with a friend and they got hit by a truck and died and just missed me by like a centimeter. That's what I felt because I used to be all into Luna. I have many friends that have multiple seven figures in Luna and they were all
Whoa.
wiped out instantly, lost everything. I had clients in Luna and Anchor as a safe option, you
Whoa.
know, and they were all wiped out. And myself, I was more into other stuff, which when I lost my Luna, it was a moment of regret and shame and guilt and trauma. Now looking back, I realized that God was saving me. So that was interesting. And thank God I wasn't all in Luna because I used to be, and I would have
Yeah,
lost everything. So
that's great.
having seen this trauma, I sat with it and realized what kind of favor God was doing me, and trying my best to extract a lesson from it. In
Hmm.
many ways, in many angles, and
What's the lesson?
attachment. It usually has to do with attachment to money. Or is God pretty much saying like, bitch, I can take this away if I wanted to, as easily as I gave you millions, I can take it away. And that's an experience I've had in the past. I've lost millions on multiple occasions. You know,
Hmm.
two big events for sure. And it was pretty much God reminding me like, while I'm in this euphoria of making it back up again, God reminding me like, yeah, I can do it again. So I'm here, hopefully not scratching my head as much, but maybe a little bit of what is the lesson that God is trying to get me to learn, to get this lesson to keep coming back at me. And I think it has to do with attachment and being unplugged from crypto, from the charts, and was helpful, I think, in helping me learn that it's not something.
Mm.
Hence my boredom lately, and my inclination to do something as what I used to think was silly as drawing. Like I would have never imagined doing that. I'm too busy to draw. Um, so that's cool. But yeah, I don't know. Do you know any lessons that you think God is trying to teach me here? You're a wise teacher to me, so.
About the Luna specifically.
Yeah, about that, or just, well, the experience of Luna. It doesn't have to be Luna specifically, but the experience of watching that, of watching that go to zero while I wasn't in it. And me being almost saved. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to me, I mean, one sort of simple, I don't know if this is a spiritual lesson in particular, but just simply diversification.
Oh,
know?
you're talking Warren Buffett-esque.
Yeah.
That's the last thing on my mind in all those moments. Yeah, that's such a foreign concept. I don't know if I don't know. Maybe it is that simple. I don't know. I don't know if that's it though.
Well, there's a lot of
Yeah,
different levels of
I get it. I get
diversification.
it. I get that aspect of it. I get it. But I don't think that's the juice of it. I really do think there's something far greater at play. That
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what I was all in. It's up to God whether it's making you up or down.
Yeah, there's that.
And I don't mean
There's
to give
also
my
this
power.
idea
I
of
don't mean
like,
to give my power away to God. I am God in one sense as well. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Because you know me well. You've seen the journey up and down.
yeah, I mean, I think on one level it's like understanding that the you know none of that can make or break you unless you allow it to. What you are is so much greater than that.
Yes, so that's the one thing I learned. Yeah, definitely. That I'm far more than a few numbers on the screen.
Hmm. Yeah, people make and lose millions again and again sometimes in their lives, and then some people never
I don't want
never
to.
get
I don't
there.
want to go back on the ride. I just want to.
No.
Well, having been to this lake house, I was like, wow. Now I know what to cash out and get. I want to get a lake house. I want to get a cabin.
Mm.
I want to get I want to get like some of these experiences. I want to travel and do this and do that. And I'm getting these new ideas now. It's becoming more obvious to me. But yeah, it is something that that's repetitive, and I don't want to do it again. I want to extract the lesson. I want to get the message, so I don't need to take the curriculum again.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Don't want to retake that class.
no thanks. No thanks. Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah.
I was wiped out over the weekend, I don't think I would be in such a good place right now. I don't think like I would be
No.
as so happy going about it, or I would, that would be not good. So that means I'm over leveraged. So
Mhm.
that's one lesson that I took home, was as soon as I get home, I'll cash out some. So
Mhm.
I'm in the process of doing that, and that will give me some more comfort.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea. And yeah, something I've noticed recently in the last like 6 months or so of crypto action is that I feel like, I've experienced, not on the level that you have, but pretty like wild swings of financial prosperity and loss, like far more than I've ever experienced in my life. And one thing that I've noticed is if I start to like get too greedy and chase these things that are uh you know I don't know, like past a certain level
It's
of
arbitrary
something.
for me. it's like 10 million sounds nice, but 20 sounds better. And then it's like, I would say things like, all right, 20 million or bust, and I'd go all the way, and I'd go, no, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is not enough. I'm going to go all the way, and then there gets to moments where I'm thinking, 60 would be even better. If I have 60, then I could blow 1 million every year and not have to think about anything. And I'm not lying. This is serious thoughts I've had. And I would never imagine I would have gotten to these thoughts. So you can imagine the level of euphoria and the type of peaks I was hitting to even entertain these thoughts of like, wow, man, I'll just 60. I'll just go for 60, and then I'll give enough to charity and this and that. I'll take care of everybody and have enough to blow 1 million every year. And, that sounds great. And that's when I got burned. That's when it tanked. So certainly, having gone through that experience quite recently, I've reframed what my goals are, far more reasonable and not greedy and not and having to do with what's really important. And I didn't know what was really important till, I was on the verge of losing it. Now it's abundantly clear what I need to use the monetary energy for. I don't need to let it get to 60 million, to do what I need to do on this earth.
So can you share what you're going to use it for?
Yeah, well, one is obviously to take care of my parents, at least in the order of 1 to 5 million, at least. They say they don't, I tell them that, and they say they don't want anything except for me to get married. They don't want a penny. But I say, okay, well,
Classic Indian parents.
in my mind, 1 to 2 to 3 million would be really reasonable, and for them to live the same lifestyle, but with a little bit more, without chasing every penny, is what I'm hoping. And they live pretty simply, and I think they would live simply even with millions, but at least they don't have to decide not to get something if it's like $1 extra, I'm trying to work that out of them. And I think 1 million.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So then there's getting a lake house. Didn't know I wanted a lake house till I went to visit one. Now I really want that, or a cabin in the woods or something, and I know what I want it to look like now, and what features I want and I don't want. I know what's important to me there, and
cool.
and that's where the money will go. And another one is a psychedelic retreat center where I would conduct breathwork ceremony, a psychedelic ceremony. Got the float tanks ready, got the cryo tanks, got the whole shebang, the whole carnival. All the technology, the oxygen light, the DMT light, the all the gadgets, biofeedback sensors and loops, and merging of tech and spirituality and nature and medicine, and just hosting community there, and lecture and sermon, and spending my time with that. That's what I would do if money were no object.
When money is no object.
Oh, traveling. I'd love to travel. And I have some ideas about that. And yeah, so any other ideas for my list, or?
Sounds like a good list. I would say make art, make music, right?
Yeah, all of that sounds
Don't
great.
need a lot of money to do that, but it does help.
Yeah, all of that sounds much, much better. Yes, it does help. It gives more freedom of time and energy. And
awesome. Well, I think it's about time to wrap this thing up. Let's
Sounds
send
good to
that
me.
energy out into the universe.
Yep, sounds good to me.
I'll read a couple final things from my notebook
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
and
Anything you didn't cover, I'd love
well,
to hear it.
yeah, well, there's plenty more, but I think for now we're at a good point to wrap it up. So yeah, let me this is from the second day.
But yes,
And
share some highlights at least.
yeah, so the highlight, I would say, I mean, I mentioned it already, but it was really like rising up and singing and dancing together after going through that, like the trials and tribulations and discomfort that you sit through at a ceremony like that. And yeah, just really feeling that power of
Well,
music,
feel free
power of
not to answer
dance.
this. Feel free not to answer this. Was there a cost? And if so, how much?
It was a donation based, so it was like how much you,
Give me a range.
yeah, like I think it was like 180 to 300 a night.
Okay. Right. It's not like a 10,000 donation to the temple or something like that. Okay.
Nothing too crazy, but yeah, well worth it. And
Understood.
yeah, the value of trusting the circle and trusting the facilitator
Well, I think
is
all that's really important in reducing paranoia and nervousness.
super important.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. So I would
it is
even
of
feel
the
more
utmost
comfortable.
importance.
I would feel comfortable going like to the other spectrum of like going for a ceremony that's highly curated and from a safety aspect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say that it was. It was.
It sure sounds
in
like
the,
it. It sure sounds like
it was
it.
in the tradition. I mean,
Dude, hell
it's an
yeah, hell
ancient.
yes, hell yes. That's what I mean. It sounds like what you went to was perfect. It was very much in the tradition and not something like in a
Yeah.
weird base.
No, none of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other ceremony I did was, seemed to me to be a little less traditional. I'll tell the story of that some other time though. There's a lot more story in there. But yeah, very interesting, very different. But yeah, let's read this final little chapter and we'll say farewell. Life-changing, world-changing, powerful ancient medicine. Gaia spirit in a cup. Mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers and on, singing together to the great spirit. Medicina de amor. You will get what you asked for. There's no doubt about it. So pay attention, think carefully, choose your words with great precision, and speak them with power and grace. Todo es amor, todo es amor. May our works go forth to bless, heal, and inspire the hearts of men and women from this now moment and onwards in perpetuity. Choose life and choose hope and choose freedom. Choose song and choose dance and choose art. Sing for our mothers, sing for our fathers, our daughters, and our sons. May the love of this moment ripple out into infinity from my endlessly loving heart to yours. May all of our family lines be healed from all generations back to all generations forward. Your life is a storybook. Please take notes and stay focused. This chance won't come again. Each cause will have an effect. It is law. What are we causing? What are we affecting? Forever and ever, always together, we sing for our daughters and sing for our sons. forever and ever, always together. We sing for our sisters and sing for our brothers. Forever and ever, always together. We sing for our mothers, sing for our fathers. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha. And that's it, folks. Thanks for joining us today on this wandering journey of mind manifesting.
Yep. Thank you all for listening. Stay tuned for more.
Yeah. Peace, everybody.
Peace.
We will see you soon.
Sending lots of love.
Peace and love.